All right, Detroit Lions have beaten the Cowboys 44-30 in a pretty important game for the Lions to try and get back on track here. And I kind of wanted to talk a bit about the important things coming from this game. Probably none more than Brian Branch going down for the rest of the season. And actually, it's probably going to be a good bit of next season as he has basically torn his Achilles. And that is just an injury that really does take a long time for some guys. And some guys take more than a year to get kind of their top speed, explosiveness back. So it really is kind of different for every single player, and it's just really tough. Brian Branch is a really good player for us. He does a lot from the slot and also working as a safety, and he's really about the closest things you can find in the NFL to like a tight end eraser. Tight ends are so difficult to cover in the NFL because you need a defensive back who is physical and also quick and also can play the ball well. Brian Branch does all of those things incredibly well, and he's just one of the best matchup defenders versus tight ends. So to not have him for the rest of this run of this season is really tough, and he's probably not going to be back to at least halfway through next year. We'll just have to see. And other than that, it does look like St. Brown is back and going to be playing at a high level still, even on that bum ankle. He had a pretty nice day there, getting off some run after catch and running away from defenders and just running hard, making some good blocks as well. And just, he looked like St. Brown out there. He might not be 100%, but he definitely looked like he's still going to be a playmaker for us, and hopefully he might get some rest this coming week in practice, and be even better next week versus the Rams, because we're really going to need him. Now for the Cowboys, losing CD Lamb there to what looks like a pretty serious concussion. I'm sure he's going to miss at least a couple weeks. It definitely did not look good, and yeah, we'll have to see how the Cowboys play going forward without him. I did think Dak Prescott played really well today. Both of his interceptions, which just kind of bounced off receivers' hands, and yeah, he made a lot of really good decisions there. He was scrambled a couple times. He did get sacked a few times when the offensive line just lost instantly, but it was a tough matchup with the tackles they had today. I think they were on the third-string left tackle, and it was just really hard out there for the Cowboys offensive line to handle. Hutchinson and Al-Qadim Muhammad had himself 3 sacks as well. So yeah, we're going to get a bit into the game here, but first I wanted to take a look at the kind of upcoming schedule and playoff implications of this coming weekend. And yeah, it's just really going to be hard for the Lions to make the playoffs without 11 wins, I think. Looking at the NFC West, you have the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks, all with 9 wins. And the Rams have to play the Titans, Colts, Bears, Seahawks. I definitely see them being the Titans and also winning one of those other games, getting them to probably at least 11 wins for the 49ers. Then you have the Rams. Rams play the Cardinals, Lions, Seahawks, Falcons, and Cardinals again. I definitely see the Rams probably sweeping the Cardinals and beating the Falcons for 3 more wins, getting them to 12. Now the Seahawks have to play the Falcons, Colts, Rams, Panthers, and 49ers. I definitely see the Seahawks beating the Falcons and Panthers, getting them to at least 11 wins. So there you have it. NFC West is probably sending 3 teams to the playoffs, taking up 2 of those wild card spots. Kind of the reason why the Lions probably have to get to 11 wins, I would say. Even with 11 wins, it's mathematically possible that they would not make it, but hopefully 11 would be enough. And I think this year we're just kind of seeing the effect of that extra game. The 17-game schedule does allow for this kind of playoff race, and yeah, really just you have to get a lot of wins. And then we have the NFC North. Obviously the Bears at 9-3 still have to play the Packers, Browns, Packers again, 49ers, and Lions. I think the Bears at least split with the Packers and beat the Browns, getting them probably 2 more wins to get them to 11. The Bears are playing really well right now. And then you have the Packers at 8-3-1. Packers have to play the Bears twice, the Broncos, Ravens, and Vikings. I think they probably beat the Ravens and Vikings and possibly split with the Bears, so they will definitely probably get at least to 10 or 11 wins there. And if the Packers have 10 wins, they have that tie, so that is very important to remember. And then we have the Lions at 8-5. We still have to play the Rams, Steelers, Vikings, and Bears. I have the Steelers and Vikings as more easy wins there to get us to probably at least 10 wins. But then we have to beat at least the Rams or the Bears to get to 11 wins, and I think that likely is the requirement to make the playoffs at 11 wins as a wild card. Then we have the Eagles at 8-4 in the NFC East. They still have to play the Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, and Commanders again. And I think with the way the Eagles are playing right now, they probably beat the Raiders and at least split with the Commanders to get them to 10 wins. So it is possible that the Eagles miss the playoffs if they keep playing not so well and they finish with 10 wins. I actually think the Cowboys still have a bit of a chance here. At 6-1, they play the Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, and Giants. I think those are 4 winnable games for the Cowboys, the way they have been playing lately. I really don't think they played that bad versus the Lions. It was just a couple turnovers. And, I really think they are one of the better teams in the NFC. And if they get to 10-6-1, that could get them in the playoffs potentially. And then for your NFC South, you have the Buccaneers at 7-5. They still have to play the Saints, the Falcons, Panthers twice, and the Dolphins. I think it's realistic that the Buccaneers could win all of these games, but I would say they probably split with the Panthers the way the Panthers have been playing lately. So, yeah, Buccaneers probably at least at 11 wins. And then you have the Panthers at 7-6 playing the Saints, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and Buccaneers again. I think they probably split with the Buccaneers and beat the Saints, getting them to probably 9-6. So yeah, if you are a Lions fan hoping to make that wild card, we should be rooting for teams like the Cardinals, Panthers, Falcons, and Commanders, who could knock off teams like the Cowboys, Eagles, Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers. And if that happens, you could see a 10-win wildcard team potentially, but honestly, I don't really know how realistic that is. I really think it's going to be an 11-win wildcard requirement. We're really going to know a lot more after this coming Sunday tomorrow, but we'll just have to see how that goes, and I definitely will probably make a video after this coming slate of games looking at the NFC Playoff Picture. All right, and for the Lions-Cowboys, obviously we had a couple of these turnovers that really came from good passes from Dak here on the slant. Really just Meek Robinson gets his hand in there, is able to knock that free from George Pickens on that one. And then later in the game here, down by 2 scores, you had this other interception bouncing off the hands of the receiver in traffic. DJ Reed making a nice play there to end the game. And then we also had that fumble where Jack Campbell was able to rip it away from Ferguson. That was another really big turnover there. And then also another really big play that I think isn't really realistic to happen most games was this Isaac Tesla touchdown. Now, Siobhan Revell definitely struggled a bit this game. The Lions were kind of targeting him a lot, whether it was St. Brown or Jameson Williams, or in this play, Isaac Tesla for the touchdown. But you're going to see here this one, he just completely misplays this, kind of playing the zone coverage there. And he just lets Tesla get behind him there, and this is one where he'll have to adjust to the speed of the game, obviously, but in zone coverage, you just have to be closer than this to make plays. I think the key here is he's just not backpedaling that fast, and I think that's something you can work on. But yeah, for Siobhan Revell, this was just not a good game at all. And yeah, he also had a play where he fell down towards the end of the first half. Jared Goff threw it to Isaac Tesla on the right side, kind of a fade route, and he just kind of fell down, kind of trying to do the same kind of backpedal thing and turn. He just slipped. Jared Goff missed the throw, but definitely could have been another touchdown there at the end of half. So, yeah, a big reason why the Cowboys lost this game was definitely Siobhan Revell in man coverage, making some mistakes, and also that zone coverage play there on the goal line definitely was very misplayed, and yeah, he should have been able to make that deflection. And other takeaways from this game, I think the Lions on offense, they looked better. Obviously, there was a lot of room over the middle of the field to hit things underneath. The run game was working. And also there were quite a few penalties, kind of like false starts and a couple of illegal formations, which is kind of a thing we have seen a lot from the Lions this year. I was kind of hoping this stuff would get cleaned up by the time week 14, 15 rolls around, but it looks like that stuff might be here to stay. So yeah, even if we do make it to the playoffs, hopefully they can kind of clean some of that stuff up and get less of these procedural penalties on offense, because they are definitely going to kill us in a game. that is important, and hopefully that won't happen. All right, so one other thing we wanted to look at was Thomas Harper. Looks like he's out with a concussion as well, probably going to miss at least 1 week here. We'll have to see if the Lions sign somebody to come in and play safety, or if it's going to be a guy like Avonte Maddox, who really has been more of like a backup slot corner for the last couple years of his career, but he came in at safety there towards the end of the game for the Lions versus the Cowboys. I'm not really sure if that's their plan, if they're going to bring in somebody else. But we do have Daniel Thomas, who's going to probably start. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see who they bring in, but it could be Eric Hallett, who played a bit for the Buccaneers and did all right sparingly there. So maybe they'll wind up bringing him back. He probably kind of knows the defense enough to where I wouldn't be super worried. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's going to be two guys back there who haven't played a whole lot. Thomas Harper was actually playing pretty well, so that's tough. He really had not made a ton of mistakes in coverage and was doing a good job. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. We will catch you in a couple of days looking at this NFC playoff picture. Going into this Sunday, we are rooting for the Cardinals and Falcons, hopefully so the Lions can grab one of those wild card spots. And thanks for watching. We will catch you then.